Sri Lankans woke up on Wednesday to newspaper headlines reporting that just days after winning election, the country's new president had dissolved the legislature. That means a snap parliamentary election will happen November 14th. This is just another massive expenditure, this man says, while this man thinks it's a good move to start afresh. What does President Anura Kumara Dissanayake hope to accomplish with a fresh parliament, and what are the risks for the debt-ridden nation? Dissanayake won Saturday's presidential election with the support of 5.6 million voters, or just over 42%. His nearest rival garnered less than 33% support. The Marxist-leaning leader with no political lineage rode a wave of support as a candidate of change. Change that many felt was desperately needed after Sri Lanka's economic collapse in 2022. He acknowledged in his inaugural speech on Monday that Sri Lankans have a very negative view of politicians. We have a deep understanding that we have a challenging country. Our politics must be cleaner, he said. We will commit ourselves to that. He's promised to cut taxes and free up revenue for public investment. But to deliver on policy, he needs a parliament that reflects his programme, and he's betting a snap election will give him that. The National People's Power Alliance, which includes Dissanayake's JVP party, held just 3 seats in the last parliament. Sri Lanka agreed to a 4-year, $2.9 billion IMF bailout program that has helped boost reserves, stem a fall in its currency, and tame runaway inflation. But the bailout came with strings attached, including austerity measures. Angry voters pinned hopes of a better future on their next leader. In his bid for office, Dissanayake said he wanted to revisit the terms of the IMF bailout. But to pass a budget, he needs parliamentary support. Sri Lanka is in the middle of restructuring about $25 billion in foreign debt. Getting parliamentary backing will strengthen Dissanayake's hands in negotiations with bondholders. Those creditors may be reassured if the new president can clarify his policy. With such a narrow bench in parliament, the new president was unable to staff a full roster of ministers. On Tuesday, Dissanayake unveiled his cabinet pick, and it only has 3 members. One is a first-time lawmaker, now Prime Minister, who will handle 5 portfolios. Another veteran legislator is now Foreign Minister and overseeing 5 other ministries. Key ministries such as Finance, Defence and Energy are all run by Dissanayake himself. The snap general election was widely expected as part of Dissanayake's plan to fix many of the issues that have his hands tied.
Sri Lanka's new leftist leader, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, was sworn in as president on Monday, promising change as the island nation emerges from its worst economic crisis in more than 7 decades.
We have a deep understanding that we have got a challenging country. Our politics must be cleaner than this. There is a need for a political culture that people expect. We will commit ourselves to that. The public have a very negative view of politicians and politics.
Long led by powerful political families, millions of Sri Lankans voted for the Marxist-leaning parliamentarian.
Our main expectation is for the cost of living to reduce and the economic situation of the poor people to improve.
Dissanayake's first task will be setting up a new cabinet and wooing Parliament, where his party has just 3 of 225 seats, and hoping to pass a budget under the terms of a $2.9 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund. The country's economy buckled in 2022 under a severe foreign exchange shortage. That left it unable to pay for imports of essentials including fuel, medicine and cooking gas. Before Monday's swearing in, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena resigned to make way for the Prime Minister and his new cabinet. Gunawardena took over as Prime Minister in July 2022 after former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa fled and resigned amid protests unleashed by the crisis. Sri Lanka's sovereign dollar bonds shed 2.88 to 3.28 cents on the dollar in early trade on Monday, to bid between 49.14 and 49.77 cents. Investors worry Dissanayake's desire to revisit the terms of the country's IMF bailout could delay future disbursements, and that could seek to renegotiate a debt deal with bondholders finalised last week. However, constitutional lawyer Bhavani Fonseca told Reuters with Sri Lanka's economic reliance on international assistance, she doesn't expect the new president to act rashly.
So he'll be taking a very pragmatic approach, at least for the next couple of months. How things play out in 2025 and beyond is to be seen, but I think at the most immediate, he's going to take a very practical approach.